opens the door for me, I will leave him. I mean, he should not think that I cannot open my own doors. I will never dance with him. Because I do not want him to lead. That is also very insulting for a woman.
Fucking idiot! Dancing with a man equals to insult. In which world? Fucking hell! No man has time for your bullshit. You fucking ungrateful bitch!
We'd like to hear some thoughts and some comments you made earlier this week about domestic violence. For our viewers who haven't heard them, here's what Mark had to say.
Blokes who've lost self-esteem, they've lost their job, they're welfare dependent, they've got other troubles, drugs, alcohol in their life. It's that loss of self-esteem where I think they use the domestic violence as a coping mechanism to get over all the other crap that they've got in their lives.
Obviously this has caused some outrage, Mark. Do you stand by those comments, and do we really need to be making excuses for perpetrators of domestic violence?
Well, Eddie, the critics haven't done their research, you see. I was paraphrasing there a very important report in New South Wales from the Coroner's Court, where they look at the domestic violence deaths and produce some conclusions about them. And they talk about a coping mechanism where men living in poverty, underclass circumstances, poor self-esteem, use domestic violence as a macabre, tragic type of coping mechanism. So the critics in this area run on emotion and ideology instead of facts and actually going to read the report. I urge people to read that report.
Well, the facts
and if you
are
haven't
that...
read it, you're not doing justice to the issue.
Mark, the facts are that domestic violence doesn't just affect people in low socioeconomic circumstances. It stretches right across all levels of society, doesn't it?
Well, it's concentrated there. Eddie, the basic fact is that for every domestic incident in a middle-class family in Australia, there are 10 in a public housing estate, 25 in Indigenous communities. That's borne out by crime statistics around the country. So you can't really deal with this serious issue in a proper way unless you're providing accurate analysis. And to say there's an epidemic, that's wrong. To say it's evenly spread across the community, that's wrong. To say that it's a product of patriarchy where somehow men have been genetically engineered to dominate women, that's ridiculous.
Do you stand by your statement that women are safer than they've ever been before, given that there are close to 80 deaths from domestic violence across Australia last year?
Yeah, well, Eddie, I urge you to read the ABS Personal Safety Survey that shows that since 1996... You have read it? Well,
yep.
You'll notice that since 1996, the rate of domestic assault and incidents has come down according to that report. So you can only go by the official statistics rather than left-wing feminist hysteria.
So you do believe that, in fact, Rosie Batty, from you, quote, causes more harm than good?
Well, I don't think it's helpful to demonise men in these circumstances. I don't think it's helpful to go around talking about an epidemic when actually in Australia the domestic assault rate against women in a 12-month period is 1%. Now, I wish it was 0%, of course. We all want it to be 0%. But I know enough about politics to realise that if you want to analyse and get solutions to a problem, you have to be accurate. And saying there's an epidemic, which sort of suggests the rate is 50 or 60%, when in fact it's 1%, that does a disservice to the women in need because you're dealing in fantasy rather than fact.
Mark, speaking as a fellow bloke, we've just got to be so careful about these messages and making excuses for this. I just...
Well, no, I'm not. No one's making excuses here, Mike. What you've got to be careful about is analysing the facts, rather than propaganda that people put out there that's not supported by official government reports, official government surveys, and there's nothing I've said that's not factual. Now, we've had a few items here where you've tried to say, oh, well, maybe that's not the case. I've got references, I've got reports, I've got official surveys that back up the facts and figures that I'm putting out there. Now, it mightn't be the information that people want to hear, but I'd rather have a debate where you can deal in reality rather than left-wing feminist fantasy.
I'm a super gangster, G'd up extra. Stretch you out, plus the nigga get next up.
You would also have to agree that, generally speaking, women are paid less, for example, for the same jobs as men.
No, I would not. I would not agree with that. If you're talking about women with the same number of years of experience, with the same continuous service, etc., then when I look at that, I don't find that disparity. I find, for example, in many cases, the women are making more, depending on how you break the data down. The difference with women is between married women and everybody else. That's the real difference.
Well, even as to single women, the Census Bureau statistics, the most recent ones I could find, 1978, say that single men are earning $11,100 and single women are earning $9,300.
Yes, I love the word single that is used. When I did my study, I didn't use single, I used never married. You see, a woman who is single at age 40, having spent 10 or 20 years raising children, is really not quite the same as a man of age 40 who's been working continuously for 20 years.
And the differential she cited is not that great, so it could easily be accounted for by the
Yes, because when I break them down the other way, I did this for the academic world, and there I found the women who are never married, which is the term the way I take it, there they were earning more than the men. And similarly, when the government did data some years ago on women who had been working continuously since high school into their 30s, there you found that they were making slightly more than men of the same description. So the difference is between married women and everybody else. And married men get an extra bonus because their wives take care of many things that enable them to put more time into their careers.
I'm sure you're aware of the fact that there are approximately 15% of all homes in which there is only one wage earner. So that when you talk about women being able to take care of things for their married mate wage earner, the fact is that in the overwhelming majority of American homes, the women also work. And therefore, I don't think your explanation that women have other responsibilities and that that's why they are...
Work can mean part-time work or full-time work. Women do not work full-time to the same extent that men. Part-time workers make less than full-time workers.
I asked at the previous estimates some questions in relation to the Violence Against Women campaign. That campaign, and I asked in particular about the research that informed it, and it stated, without giving any citations, and I quote here, "There is a clear link between violence towards women and attitudes of disrespect and gender inequality."
Senator, the campaign is based on a range of research, including international and domestic research, including the World Health Organisation preventing intimate partner and sexual violence against women, taking action and generating evidence, as well as the ANRA's research for the Australian Bureau of Statistics Personal Safety Survey. A variety of these research pieces go to one of the key elements that go towards violence against women is disrespectful behaviour and gender inequality.
Yes, okay, well, you didn't quite answer my question, but anyway, you did refer to the WHO report. Are you arguing that the WHO report indicates that of all the factors, gender inequality is the heart of the issue?
No, in the campaign we don't argue that gender inequality and disrespectful behaviour is at the heart of the issue. It is one of the contributing factors. It's not the only contributing factor to violence against women.
What else does the WHO report suggest is responsible for violence against women?
I actually don't have the full details of that report with me, Senator.
The WHO report lists individual factors: low income, low education, sexual abuse, parental violence, antisocial personality, harmful use of alcohol, illicit drug use, acceptance of violence. It lists relationship factors, multiple partners, infidelity, low resistance to peer pressure, and it lists community factors, weak community sanctions and poverty, and societal factors, traditional gender norms and social norms supportive of violence. So in none of those does it actually nominate gender inequality as a key contributor. Now, the sixth paragraph in your response refers to an unpublished 2007 paper by Michael Flood and also a report of a survey by Vic Health. The unpublished paper by Michael Flood, did it support the contention that disrespect and gender inequality were more important contributors, or did it compare them to other contributors like poverty, alcohol abuse and drug abuse?
Senator, I'm not aware it gave it any greater importance in that research.
Did the survey compare the contribution of disrespect and gender inequality to violence against women against other factors like poverty, alcohol abuse and drug abuse?
I'd have to take that on notice.
You have to take that on notice. In fact, we found that the survey only measured reported attitudes to violence. So attitudes, in other words. So I'd like to go a little further into that survey. That survey, which you cited as a source for a reference source for to underpin the Violence Against Women campaign, it states that it is an area of concern that only 60% of young people agree that violence against women is common. So that raises the question, can you definitively say that violence against women is common? And I mention that because the most recent ABS personal safety survey indicates that 1.5% of women reported experiencing violence by a partner or ex-partner during the previous 12 months. So 1.5%, I mean, I suppose depends on your definition, but I'm not sure that that would qualify from my definition of common. I'm not going anywhere on this by suggesting violence against women is acceptable or desirable or anything other than something to be avoided. But what I am questioning is the commitment of taxpayers' funds to a program for which the suggestion was, as I raised last estimates, the fundamental assumption is there a clear link between violence towards women and attitudes of disrespect and gender inequality. Now, there's a 2013 United Nations page quantitative study on male violence against women in Asia and the Pacific by Fulu et al. It indicated that low gender equitable attitudes were less important factors explaining intimate partner violence than nearly every other factor listed, including the number of lifetime sexual partners, childhood abuse or neglect, a lack of education, food insecurity, depression and alcohol abuse. Do you consider this UN study to be a credible source?
I'm not privy to the detail of that study, Senator, so I can't make comment on it.
What I'm suggesting to you is that there is a danger, and I'm suspicious that you have selectively taken the evidence rather than taken it as a whole. Because what you've sent me so far does not do it justice, in my view, and I suspect that the program is misdirected, and it could be more successful if it was redirected.
Well, I want different qualities in a man. First, he should have no expectations from me.
Huh? Wait a minute. What about shakalaka boom boom? Or at least a little bit sucky? How can I date you and not expect anything from you? Even this tissue, I expect it to wipe me after I finish doing whatever it is that I am doing at the lower part of my body. Are you telling me that this tissue is more useful than you because it is a thing and I expect something from it? As a human being, I should expect a lot more from you. Are you telling me that you are that useless? From a scale of 1 to a pen without ink, how useless are you that I should not even expect anything from you?
Third, whenever he's out on an office tour, he should always take me with him.
What the fucking fuck? Why should I take you around my workplace all the time? What are you, a printer or a briefcase? Are you going to vomit office papers or what? Oh wait, I forgot, I should not have any expectations from you. What kind of woman wants to be around her man's workplace always? A mental woman, that's who you, my friend, are mental.
Fourth, I will never cook for him because a woman's place is not in the kitchen.
If a woman's place is not in the kitchen, then why are women naturally hot like the kitchen? And why do women naturally have eggs in their body like the kitchen and oil in their body like the kitchen? And why do they naturally have milk in their body like the kitchen? And why do they naturally have extra meat on their body? If you know what I mean, like the kitchen, you better take your ass back to the kitchen. I joke, woman. I joke. I am joking. Please don't break my balls, woman. Your place is not in the kitchen. Maybe. But seriously, this woman, if you never want to cook for your man, then why don't you take your non-cooking ass to the jungle and eat only fruits there with, I don't know, jungle people who want to marry you, who don't require any cook, or I don't know, go back to 1532 where they probably don't have kitchens.
Fifth, I will never dance with him. Because I do not want him to lead. That is also very insulting for a woman.
Oh my God. What a brainless idiot. How is dancing with a man equals to insult to a woman? Fuck! Maybe they should exchange her brain with a rat's brain. A rat might have more use for her brain. Fucking idiot! Dancing with a man equals to insult. In which world? Fucking hell!
Sixth, if he ever opens the door for me, I will leave him. I mean, he should not think that I cannot open my own doors.
Alright, that does it. Woman, go and penetrate yourself, because no man has time for your bullshit. You fucking ungrateful bitch.
He's basically saying there is a gender gap because these reasons. Piers Morgan is saying there is a gender gap and you're disgusting. I'm saying there is no gender gap. It's been debunked several times. Now, I'm probably not the right person to talk about this, but the gender gap is something that a lot of people, you've probably heard about, that women earn less than men.
Today, the typical woman who works full-time earns 79 cents for every dollar that a typical man makes.
This is definitely not a statement made so that people can pat themselves on the back. Oh, it's so hard being a woman. And it's not a statement that men make to further themselves in different areas, say politics. What they did with the gender gap is that they took all men and all women and did a median on it and said, oh, okay, women earn this amount less than men in general. What they don't take into account is, well, pretty much anything at all, like women working less hours, women choosing less high-paying jobs, and so on and so forth. Now, if you take these factors into account, basically the gender gap comes out to pretty much nothing, because men and women are paid generally equal, because it is governed by the law. You can't pay someone less money because of their gender. It's illegal. It's been illegal for 45 years. If women were paid less than men, then why doesn't all companies just hire women? You would have to pay them less for the same job. But this statement lives on because politicians wants to further themselves. People want to feel better by saying it. Oh, women! People want to pat themselves on the back. But really, you're doing more harm than good by making statements like this. Now, basically what the man was saying, there's more than one pay gap. If you're shorter, you get paid less. If you are less intelligent, you're more likely to get paid less. If you are fat, you are likely to get paid less. All these different things, all these different privileges, they all come down to less pay. But Piers so desperately wants to show that he's a good man that he's irrational. He won't even listen to what he said. He said several times, I don't think women should get paid less.
I never said that women should earn less.
He said it what 3 times, but you completely ignored because Piers so desperately wants to show I'm standing up for women. It's so easy. It's so easy to just be like, oh, you're disrespecting women. You're a disgusting sexist pig. You're in the parliament. Get this man out of the parliament. Let's dismiss everything else this man believes in because he's sexist and disgusting.
We'll be right back.